Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
It is that time again, the final round of the BISC GT3 Championship. We're here at Phillip Island, and it's going to be the final round here of this season. I'm joined in the commentary box today by Matthew Duffin, as well as Peter Ferraro, who you might have seen out on track in a couple of previous rounds. He's decided for the final round to join us here at Phillip Island Circuit. And I've got to say, very, very nice circuit to go around in the GT3s. And it's going to pose as quite a complex track for our final round. But welcome into the stream here. Like I mentioned, the final round here. We've got some good points up for grabs for all of our drivers, and it's looking like it's going to be a good one. Matthew, how are you feeling for today's racing?
Yeah, Andrew, looking forward to this one, Tristan. I think it's going to be a fascinating day of racing around this really lovely circuit. Looks quite tight out there, though, and this is going to provide some great action and drama through this Phillip Island circuit. It's going to be an interesting season finale for sure, with what should be a fantastic sprint and feature race coming your way in a little moment to round out this season.
Well, I'll start off with saying thanks for having me, guys. It's very exciting to be here tonight. We've got a couple of battles. It looks like Ben's already got the championship tied up, but I'm really looking forward to some hard racing between Dante and Ivan, separated by just 1 point. Let's see what they can bring us tonight.
Absolutely. So like Mr. Peter Ferraro mentioned, we'll bring up your championship standing shortly, as qualifying has indeed started. The drivers will be on their joker or outlap, depending on whatever you call it, and getting their car accustomed around the track. But there we have it. Ben Snell, like mentioned by Mr. Ferraro, is quite well into the lead over there, 241 points. It's quite a margin of distance to Ivan Vantagiato. And obviously the main fight currently is that final spot for the second position of the championship standing. So that's versus Vantagiato and Dante Oliva. And then obviously we have Mr. Peter Ferraro, who sits in fourth, but currently in the commentary box here tonight. Ian Noxie a little bit further down with 111 points. He had a fantastic undercut strategy last week. So let's see if he can do the same. And Scott Berman will be chasing down on Noxie for fifth position. We've got a couple of the drivers, Nick Green, Wilhelm Dombrave, who I don't think is here tonight, but Nick Green will be here to try and fight his way up into that top 7. Stephen Deviak, who we saw have some incredible speed last week, is also here again. And let's see if he can pose a bit of a threat to Ben Snell this time around. But only time is going to tell, as the drivers are slowly getting their laps in here in the qualifying session.
Yeah, they are indeed. And like you say, Deviak last week had a fantastic couple of races, but he just narrowly lost out to Vantagiato in that feature race after taking a good sprint race. What can he do tonight in this qualifying? Vantagiato's currently setting the pole time at the moment with a 1:32.550 from Borman, Snell and then Green, who are the only four to set a lap time at the moment.
I think Dev Jack's going to be really strong tonight, guys. I was speaking to him earlier in the week. He's got some new pedals. He's feeling really comfortable in the sim. He's setting really fast lap times. I think he's going to be someone to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I mean, like we were both mentioning, he had some incredible pace last week at the previous round, but now coming to the final round, this is going to be his time to chase on. We did see him in the championship standing sitting in 7th position, so this is the final round for him to try and pull himself up towards that top 5. Obviously, Ian Noxie will be up ahead, and so that is going to be the chase for him. But before we head over through the qualifying action, we've also got a fantastic amount of sponsors here, and it'll be the final time they get called out here for the last round of the BISC GT3 Championship. But obviously, we've got Bowden's own premium care car products as our primary title sponsor. Benji's YouTube channel, which you are currently watching live right now, provided by Apex Racing TV, is also the secondary title sponsor. We've then also got some other amazing sponsors that have brought all the racing to you today. We've got RaceForge, all your racing stats and analysts, plus your private league management needs. So if you ever need something like that, head over to RaceForge. We've also got Hyperspec, the newest sim racing gloves on the market, created by sim racers for sim racers. We've got Jack Ashton Sim Coaching, which obviously, as the name describes it, is sim coaching for all your practice and performance needs. We've also got Hair Forum, as well as RBMX Designs for all your sim racing livery custom designs. So you'll see quite a lot of the drivers out here will be using RBMX Designs, lots of very neat liveries out on track. So great to see them in that sponsorship. But with qualifying continuously going on, it looks like qualifying, the time has paused at 2:54. I'm not too sure what's happened there, but the drivers still stacking on and trying to get those lap times in.
Yeah, they are indeed, and this is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on who's going to do what. Still only the 4 lap times it's saying on the screen at the moment. I have lost all data on the timing app in front of me, so not sure if there's just a bit of a delay in the overlays you see on your screen at the moment. But it is currently, from what we are aware, Vantage Auto on pole. I don't know, Tristan, if your timing tower is working for you. The servers have gone down for the live timing. So at the moment, from what we can see on the screen, Vantage Auto is pole from Bowman, from Snell, from Green. No other driver has a lap timing at the moment. That could possibly change by the time we get to the end of this qualifying session. There we go.
If I can update you guys on this one, because Ben Snell is on pole with a 25.440.
There we go, and Devjak as well, look, second place. Yep. So Devjak, Tristan, after last week, continuing that fine form.
Definitely so, up into 2nd position. Boerman's also managed to set a fantastic lap time up into 3rd, and remember, he is fighting onto the backside of Ian Noxie for the final spot of top 5. So currently that top 5 is split between Devjak, Boerman and Ian Noxie. All 3 of them are racing here today, which is great to see. Unfortunately, we did miss Ben Snell last week, but I don't think that challenged too much in terms of his pace. But talking about changes, Vantage Auto swipes it away into 1st place. He goes 125.3. Devjak also got a jump there just before being taken over by Vantage Auto. So 0.02 of a second difference between the top 2. Ben Snell now over a 10th away in 3rd position. Oliva also moves up into 4th, so Boerman will be pushed down to 5th. And Noxie again pushes up towards 5th, so currently sitting where he sits in the championship standing. So Boerman will need to put a little bit more pressure in there to get himself into that top 5 slot. But we've got a quite interesting array of track turns here, a couple of mixtures of track corner names, tier 10 and tier 11, and then a couple of more easily readable names. We've got Lukey Heights, Hayshed is here, Siberia, Repco, and Southern Loop. So a couple of corners that got some proper naming conventions. T1 will be called T1 for this race. That is what it is officially stated as. But then we head into the Southern Loop, where we might see some dives up onto the inside line. But for the time being, Vantage Auto sets a strong lead in 1st position. Devjak will try and counter shortly.
Yeah, and do you know what? Looking at these times at the moment, I've got a feeling this could be a very, very interesting sprint and feature race. 0.6 of a second separating the top 6. I don't think we've seen anybody challenge Ben Snell like this in qualifying all season, have we? So I think this could be a cracking end to the season here. These lap times are absolutely, anything could happen. There you go, blink of an eye. And now Devjak goes pole by literally, he went 11,000ths of a second on pole. Vantage Auto improved by 1,000th of a second to put it down to literally 100th now. So it is so tight out there. There is time to be gained. And now Ben Snell goes and puts it on pole by 0.5 tenth to Devjak. So it is incredibly close out there between the top 6.
I think this is what we wanted to see for the final round, guys. Like, this is going to be tight. They're all only going to go quicker. Oh, and Ben Snell's gone off. Ben Snell has gone off. So that's going to be the end of his qualifying, guys. Let's just see if he set a fast enough time to keep him out front. I don't know that he has. Those tyres are going to ramp up. I'm putting money on DevJack from here, but let's have a look how it plays out in the next few minutes, guys.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Deviak and Vantagiato have both used up their available laps. So for them, they will be sitting dormant in second and third. I see a Lever still out in the lap right now, as well as Nick Green, Michael and Jelly, Luke Broadbent. I'm not too sure else can get their lap times improved. But here we have Dante Oliva down in fourth, and possibly an improvement through the next couple of corners. Let's see as he comes up towards the end of the race, up towards the end of this lap, about 30% of the lap left to go. And through that bottom section around the next couple of corners he goes. I believe he's currently around about the Lukey Heights section, and then through MG and turn 10 as he rounds up the final couple of corners, but he does indeed pull it into the pit lane, so that will not be any form of lap time improvement. Luke Broadbent is still out on the track. He has actually got a bit of a car switch. We did see him in the Corvette last week this time, but out in the big Merc GT, so trying something different for the number 70. Completely different color scheme as well, so very interesting to see. But before we move on, it is also good, like we mentioned a bit earlier, I believe Matthew did mention that we do have a sprint race coming up. So just to remind you of the formatting for today's racing, we did have our 35 minutes of open practice. We are just about to finish our open qualifying of 12 minutes in length, 3 valid laps allowed. We then head to our sprint race, which is a 10-minute race, and then we have a 3 to 4 minute break and a 35-minute feature race. And the positions of the feature race are 100% determined by the finishing position in the sprint race. But qualifying officially looks like it's over, and Ben Snell sits comfortably in the lead.
He does indeed. Oh, you say comfortably, Tristan, half a tenth. I'd rather have a bit more of a gap than that one. This could be an interesting sprint race for sure, to see what's going to happen here. But yeah, Ben Snell back this week and back to the top of the timing tower on the form that he has shown all season. There we go. We've just got 2 guys chilling out on the front of a boat there as we wait to look into the ocean. Yeah, this track's not going to be easy to overtake. We've just seen in the qualifying there how tight and twisty this circuit is. It's going to be difficult, I think, to try and get an overtake done around here. You've really got to be alongside. There's going to be no lunges, I don't think, going on today. I think you've really got to be alongside to make sure you are going to complete the overtake if possible.
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting tonight, guys. I don't know if you know, but it is a reverse grid again. So wherever they finish in this next race will be reversed. So they're going to have to try overtakes. They're going to have to try to get through that field. It'll be interesting to see who can do it cleanly and who ends up on top. I'm just looking really forward to the battle between Ivan and Dante and see how that plays out.
That's where the confusion came last week. We were wondering if it was reverse and whether or not there was a reverse previously. So thank you for confirming that for us. There was indeed. And so this round will be a reverse grid after the sprint race. And so that's going to prove to be quite an interesting turn of events for that main feature race here in today's racing. But looks like our qualifying clock is still counting down, even though most drivers have finished off. And one thing I'm hoping we don't see today is a cut short feature race. Unfortunately, we did see it last week. I'm not too sure if something has been changed up to prevent the clock from being stopped by the amount of laps, but we did unfortunately see it last week. The drivers only got about 27 minutes of racing compared to the total 35 that they're supposed to get, and that could have really changed things up for the likes of Steven Deviak. Unfortunately, he did finish in second last week. He could have possibly gotten a first, but just not enough time left. But there we officially have the end of our qualifying session, and heading towards that starting grid ever so shortly for our sprint race. And I think it's going to be a really interesting one down into turn 1 and then through that loop like Matthew was mentioning. It looks like it's quite a complicated circuit in terms of overtaking, but there we have our starting grid. Ben Snell will be starting off in P number 1 with Deviak just ever so slightly behind, 0.05 of a second. Ivan Vantagiato 0.06 of a second behind in third, with Dante Oliva 0.4 behind it in 4th position. Ian Oxley will take 5th, with Scott Berman in 6th, rounding off the 3rd row. Ben Mitchell, the league owner, down in 7th, with Luke Broadbent in 8th position. The final 2 spots on today's grid, 9th and 10th position, 11th, will go to Andrew Cash. Nick Green and Michael Angeli will be rounding off this 11 car grid in the final spot for the ATR Motorsport team. So that's what the grid looks like. The drivers will be forming up shortly and getting their formation lap underway.
Yes, indeed, we will. Mercedes, Aston Martin, Mercedes, BMW in that top 4. But like we say, the battle to watch is Ivan Vantagiato and Dante Oliva in this one. It's going to be a cracking fight. Got the feeling with Dante, and I don't know about you two guys, but last week and this week in qualifying, he just seems to have still been finding his feet a little bit. We've seen him all season have really good pace, gone to 2 circuits that possibly aren't used as much for the GT3s, and all of a sudden, you know, Dante's just sort of trying to find his feet a little bit more, and I just feel like we saw it last week at Mosport. You know, it seemed to take the qualifying and the sprint race for him to really get into a rhythm going into that feature. Will we see the same tonight?
I've got a feeling he's going to be quick tonight, guys. I know of the last couple of tracks, probably he hasn't had lots of hours on them. I know he put a lot of hours in this week. He's working with David Bosger, a 10K driver coach, towards getting a good result tonight. So I think he's going to pull out the big guns tonight, guys.
It's a nice insight to see what we might have in store for us for that second wave battle. To know that Dante Oliva, who I think the last time we saw him have quite a dominating run through was Imola, if I'm not mistaken. Unfortunately, all the rounds after that, he fell off slightly compared to his normal pace, and he hasn't been fighting for the contention of the lead for the most recent races. But if that inside correction is true, and we do have a Dante Oliva who's very much so warmed up for Phillip Island, we might be seeing a good fight for that second place position versus Vantagiato. So we'll have to watch and see what happens. You can see the brakes are illuminated as the brake dragging is happening. The tires getting nice and warm as they round around the circuit for the 10-minute sprint race. Remember, this is not a lot of time for the drivers to play with. They really have to position themselves wisely if they want good points in this race. And like Ferraro mentioned, is that this is a reverse grid feature race. So if you do manage to finish in first like Ben Snell or Deviak, well, unfortunately, it's not going to turn out too great for you in that feature race. You will be starting at the back of this 11-car grid. So for someone like Michael Angeli or Nick Green, who are currently fighting for those final spots in the championship standings, like Nick Green fighting for 7th, it might be a good switch around. If he does stay towards the back of the sprint, he will be able to move up towards first position or somewhere near the top podium in that feature race. And that 35 minutes is a lot more important than the 10-minute sprint race. So let's see what the drivers can do. But for the time being, Ben Snell, Steven Deviak preparing themselves now to get towards that start-finish straight.
Yeah, indeed they are. It's going to be a fascinating race, isn't it, tonight? We keep saying it, but I really feel like with how close that top 5-6 was, this battle in this sprint race especially, you know, with just it being a short 10 minutes, final race of the season, you all know what can happen at the final race. It all of a sudden becomes, you know, a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more frantic, as the drivers will look to try and gain every position they can, knowing that the racing is coming to an end. And prizes up for grabs, I suppose, as well, isn't it? Second place in the championship, wherever you can finish in that championship, is going to be a huge bit of momentum going into that new year and any other events that these drivers may be coming into.
Yeah, definitely. I want tonight to take off where last week kind of cut off, because I was really getting into it last week, and then just when the battle was about to happen, it was cut off. So I'm hoping we can just continue right where things left off last week.
Yeah, definitely. So it might be able to, because we do have Deviak up in that front row, so he's in a good position yet to get some points on the board. But we're officially rounding off on that final corner, T11, as they come towards the start-finish straight, and you can see the cars honing in their skills. The nerves will be trying to be dampened in this moment, because it all comes down to that pull-off. As soon as you see the gantry lights going green, you can see Ben Snell's already on the pull-off, and it is in green lights, and away we go. Deviak already facing the pressure of Vantagiato on the outside line, and Deviak being swarmed around now by Oliva and Vantagiato. This could be a dive up onto the inside for Vantagiato potentially, and Ben Snell, very good pull-off already, 6/10 ahead of Steven Deviak just through the first corner. And as they come through the next couple of corners, Southern Loop now, around the left they go. You can see the huge body of water. What a great view for the drivers for the final race towards the festive season. Through turn 3, they will come, and up towards Repco. They chase down now. But for Ben Snell, still holding off well into the lead here. Deviak has been able to hold off from Vantagiato and Oliva, who are currently in a huge contention between each other. Ben Mitchell, a little bit further behind, has also been able to maintain himself. Unfortunately, one position lost. Luke Broadbent got a great jump on that start and 2 positions up for him as well. Up to 6th he goes, but for the time being, Ben Snell holds the train quite strong.
Yeah, and this is what he's done all season, isn't it? He's got that good start and he's just started to maintain his pace and control the gaps behind him. He's the one who can do that from the lead of this race. This is Nick Green down at the back of the field at the moment, but it is right on the train of every single car in front of him. One mistake from a driver ahead and that could be a position gain for him. You just see the Porsche go out wide and sort of late apex the corner. Nick Green just looking left and right to see if he can try and find an opening at some point of this track, and you're just seeing how difficult it is to overtake round here on the opening lap of Phillip Island. Ben Snell leads from Steven Devjak with that Ivan Vantigiato in 3rd place as they come start lap number 2, and Vantigiato looking on the back of Devjak, and you just do feel like what Peter was saying, that these 3 are just continuing that battle he was having last time out, while Ben Snell already opens that gap up to over a second.
Ben is very, very good at race starts. He's very composed. He gets those tyres warm and he keeps the car stable and seems to be fastest over those first few laps. And it's a credit to him because it's a great advantage to have. If you can just run away from that pack that little bit and get that little breather, it's a really, really good thing. But yeah, look, this is looking tight. It's what we wanted. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, unfortunately, while you were talking, Ben Mitchell 4 positions down through that middle sector. Not too sure what happened, but here's your replay. So holding down, this is still where he was in 8th position, just behind Boerman and Luke Broadbent up ahead, and just taking a little bit of a wider line. Unfortunately, the grass is quite an attractive thing around track, and it starts to pull your car in as much as it possibly can. And just like that, 4 positions down after Ben Mitchell. He is currently the last car on the grid. And massive lunge up onto the inside line for Ben Mitchell, and unfortunately, very, very dangerous and reckless move there, completely wiping out Andrew Cash. And very unfortunate dive up the inside. It was looking good to make the jump on Nick Green, but trying the double overtake on Nick Green and Andrew Cash, I'm not too sure if that was a bit of a driver error or if that was on purpose from Ben Mitchell. Let's have a bit of a replay from cockpit view. You can see just from behind a possible late braking error coming onto the inside line, and just nowhere left to run, and into the side he will go of Andrew Cash. Very, very unfortunate, but he will remain down in 11th.
I said it at the end of qualifying, didn't I? There is nowhere on this circuit to make a lunge around here. You've really got to have that overlap on the car you're trying to overtake, and he just went in too hot. And fortunately there for Nick Green, manages to come away with a place over Andrew Cash as he managed to avoid that incident with the Lamborghini hitting the back of the Porsche. Mitchell into the pits with some damage to the front of that car. And this is what I've loved about Ben Snell all season. He gets that good race start, as Peter was saying, and then he just controls it from there. Doesn't push too hard. And this circuit is one of them tracks that will absolutely hurt you if you make a mistake. Look at how close the pack is. If he makes one little error, he could tumble down 3 or 4 spots in this race, and he's going to want to take as many race wins as he can this season. He's going to look to take the double here tonight. Obviously the reverse grid will be very interesting to watch around this twisty circuit, but yeah, you've really got to be consistent tonight for all these drivers out there. We're seeing Vantigiato just still on the back of Devjak at the moment. We're about halfway through, or approaching the halfway stage of this race at the moment, starting lap number 4. And Vantigiato just sitting patiently, and you've almost got to try and have a look at Devjak as Vantigiato here. Just have a little look, maybe just distract him a little bit, keep his eyes focused on the mirror than what's in front of him, and hope that Devjak makes that error.
Yeah, I just a bit in awe of young Benji Mitchell. I was actually had on board and could hear the music he was playing on his radio as that was all happening.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Ben Mitchell.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Apologies there, Peter. You started to cut out slightly, but back up towards that top fight, Vantigiato, like Matthew was mentioning, all he is trying to do now is get within that rear view spot of Devjak and hope to force a mistake. We have seen a very, very little bit of curbing here at Phillip Island, and just after that curb is indeed the grass that does decide to pull you in. So even the slightest bit of turn-in area from Devjak could cause him to stray out wide and get tugged in by that grass, and that could be a great opportunity for Vantigiato to put a car in between himself and his rival behind of Dante Oliva. So let's see what can happen in this next couple of laps. But for the time being, Ben Snell running away, not entirely. I mean, usually we do see him gap about 3 or 4 seconds after this amount of laps, but He is remaining dormant with about 9/10 between himself and Deviak, but it is very, very close between Deviak and Vantagiato now, 1/10 between themselves. And Vantagiato looking up on that inside line, he doesn't want to do anything too courageous that could ruin his race or possibly pull him closer to a lever. You can see the great amount of distance he's already placed between himself and a lever, over 1.5 seconds now. And so possibly wanting to just sit in that slipstream and try and keep the momentum going. But a little bit further behind, though, Luke Broadbent still fighting on hard with the likes of Boerman. And obviously they did have the likes of Ben Mitchell behind before his grass pull, and then obviously his inaugural dive in. And he's completely out of this fight now. So for the time being, Broadbent versus Boerman, and Boerman getting very close to the carbon fiber bumper of that Merc.
Yeah, and again, I think we're going back to what you were saying about Vantagiato there. Just had a look into turn one. I think it was just a look. He's just trying to distract Devjak a little bit, just to put him offline and make him just go a little bit wide by just showing the nose of his car. But this is Boerman trying to do the same job at the moment in the over that of Broadbent, like you say, running the Mercedes-Benz AMG this weekend. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle, this one, to see what plays out. Broadbent learning that new car. He's obviously been in the Corvette for the whole entire season, and I was just being told by somebody the other day that the Corvette seems to have got a little better since the recent update on iRacing, and he's decided to get rid of it for the Mercedes. So he's possibly not he's possibly looking to the future rather than trying to finish his season in the Corvette, and looking to what the future can bring in that Mercedes-Benz. But through the final corner they go. On that final lap, Devjak, fastest man on the circuit, and both him and Vantagiato gained by just a small amount over that of Ben Snell, and you can see that reflects in the timing tower, because it's half a second separating, or just over half a second, sorry, separating Snell and Devjak, and then half a second separating Devjak to Vantagiato. I have a feeling here, Tristan, you said that, you know, we're always used to seeing Snell, you know, 2 or 3 seconds up the road by this stage of the first race. I think this is clever from Snell. It's a circuit where an error will punish you, and I think this is just, look, they're going to have to fight. They're going to find it hard to get past me here, but I'm not going to have to defend too hard. I've just got to race my line, drive my line, and as long as I can keep it consistent, that's all I need to do, because overtaking is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. But Devjak, it looks quicker than Ben Snell at the moment. He keeps bringing it down, as he said, half a second. We'll see what happens in the feature. We've only got a couple of minutes left this race, so I don't know how much he can do, but the feature's going to be super interesting.
Yeah, remember, if they do stay in these current positions with Devjak behind, it does mean in that reverse grid, Devjak will start ahead of Ben Snell. And like we've spoken about heavily on Phillip Island, that reverse grid is going to be one of the more interesting reverse grids we've seen this season, just due to the fact of how complicated and difficult it is to perform an overtake at Phillip Island. So if Devjak remains where he currently is, and that reverse grid places him just up in front of Ben Snell, and he's able to hold Ben Snell off through all the traffic, that could possibly be a way to keep his lead, because like we mentioned, he is currently faster than Ben Snell. It's not like he's, you know, holding on for dear life. He is actually starting to close that gap. It's just the point of, very, very close for Scott Boerman, and trying to creep onto the inside line there of Broadbent. I genuinely thought that was going to be a bit of a pit maneuver into the next corner, but thankfully he does pull out and realizes it's not worth the risk. So Scott Boerman will pull out of that fight a little bit further. You can see Angeli, who's also had quite a good increase in terms of overall position, 3 places up after Andrew Cash and Ben Mitchell dropped off of this grid. But 30 seconds left of racing. I'm not too sure where the leader is on the track map currently, but it might already be the white flag being waved, unless he's going to come across just before that 10-minute ticks. Ben Snell, though, still holds that lead. Scott Boerman, this is his final chance to fight onto the backside of Broadbent, and it's going to be a close one. But here we go, 10 seconds left. And unfortunately, this is indeed white flag territory. So this is no longer going to be enough time for the likes of Devjak to get ahead, because there we already have it. The 10 minutes has officially ticked down. The finish line is imminent, and Ben Snell will take the win here for the sprint race. Devjak second, Vantagiato third, and Dante Oliva over 2.5 seconds behind in 4th position.
You mentioned about the reverse grid there, Tristan, and I think that I don't think it's going to be easy for Devjak and Snell, you know, to come from the back. I think this is going to be very, very difficult. I think we could get a new winner this season. I think you've got to look at the drivers lower down the order to just, if they can remain consistent. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but the reverse grid could be an absolute belter of a race with the drivers going from the front to the back. overtaking so hard. This could really be a difficult race for Snell and Deviak to get to the front. But what a win for Ben Snell. Deviak second, Vantiggiato third, as Tristan said. Dante Oliva fourth. Ian Knoxie ahead of Broadbent, Scott Borman. With Michael Angeli, Nick Green, Andrew Cash and Ben Mitchell just about to finish the race. Obviously had to make that pit stop due to damage to the front of the car with that incident a little earlier on. But a great opening race. Deviak and Vantiggiato have got the pace, and Ben Snell have got the pace over Oliva. I was looking at the lap times, and Oliva's best lap was at least 3/10 slower than that of Deviak and Vantiggiato, but was more in the high 125s, low 126s compared to the other two. Was mid to low 125s in front of him. So it's going to be tough for Dante Oliva in this next race. But let's not forget, he starts in front of all three of them.
So I'm just looking at points, guys, and from what I can see now, Ivan and Dante are actually tied on points for second place. So it's going to be whoever finishes ahead in this feature will be getting second place. But I tend to agree. I think we're on for a great race here.
Yeah, 100%. So we head into our 4-minute warm-up. We've got a little bit of time to relax before the chaos of our feature race unfolds. And I think it's a good time also, like Matthew did mention, there is some nice cash up for grabs, especially with those final drivers who want to get those final position changes in the championship standings. So first place tonight, and we'll mention the full order since it is our last round here for the BISC GT3 Championship. First place takes home a whopping 300 Australian dollars. So it's looking quite confirmed here for Ben Snell. Obviously, nothing is official until the stewards have ruled the standings as final and official, but it is looking good here for Ben Snell to take that home. Second position, 200 Australian dollars. So that's currently between the likes of Ivan Vantiggiato and Dante Oliva, as they will now fight it out for that feature race. Third place will take a $100 Australian dollars. Fourth place will take 80 Australian dollars. Fifth place will take 50 Australian dollars. Sixth will take 25 Australian dollars. And seventh will take 10 Australian dollars. Then there is also a randomized prize draw that will happen at the end of the season. And that randomized prize draw will be coming from all of our sponsors. So Hyperspec will be giving away one pair of their newest sim racing gloves. Jack Ashton Coaching will be giving away one free tailored sim coaching session. And like I said, that is a random prize draw. We then have RBMX Designs. They'll be giving away one free custom livery design for any make or model of car in the iRacing simulation platform. And then Bowden's Own will be giving away one essential wash kit valued at over 250 Australian dollars. So loads and loads of prizes up for grabs here for the drivers. Even the drivers who are not in contention for that top 7 prize pool, there is that random draw and so many good things up for grabs.
Yep, so many good things up for grabs, and we've got one final race here of this season, and what a season it has been. Looking forward to this one with 2025 coming to a close and many a championship getting ready for that new year and for that new start to the racing that they have in front of them. It's going to be an interesting season that we could see next time out in 2026. I'm really looking forward to this race. I think this feature race could be the best one of the season, if I'm going to be honest with you. I know it's a shorter grid, but I've got a feeling this could be a really good race. And let's see what's going to happen. Dante Oliva then and Vantiggiato tied on points, as you were saying, Peter. With that reverse grid, Oliva will start ahead. So, crucial.
Yeah, absolutely crucial. And I know Benji's done a lot of work to get those prizes for this league. And he's actually moving the league slightly. It's changing direction a little bit next year. And he's going to focus more on doing some big enduro events. The first one, I believe, is going to be in late January at Adelaide Street Circuit. So I think it's going to consist of maybe 2 hours. And they're just going to be single-held events. So it'll be super interesting next year. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of the same faces. And there should be some good racing in that.
It's great to see the change-up of event style. Obviously, it's great to experiment with different formats and stuff. And I'm not going to lie to you, I do love me a good endurance race. I've done a couple myself, commentated on a couple myself as well. And very, very fun indeed to do so. Obviously, the longer it goes, the more consistency you've got to do compared to what we saw in the sprint race, which is a 10-minute absolute hot lap challenge, trying to get the fastest lap every single lap and pull away from your competitors. But the warm-up has officially ended, and we managed to get through that quite relatively easily there. Usually it's quite a long wait, but it actually felt extremely short. And like Matthew mentioned, this could be one of the best feature races we've seen. Even though we've only got 11 cars on the grid, you're practically chucking 11 cars that are unable to pass each other through a Monaco style circuit and reverse grid, so the fastest drivers will be at the back. So this is going to be quite a chaotic but interesting race. So Ben Mitchell starts on pole here for the BIP esports team. Andrew Cash will take second, and Nick Green will be starting in third. Michael Angeli starts fourth, with Scott Boerman down in fifth. Luke Broadbent will take sixth position. Ian Noxie takes seventh, and there we have Dante Oliva in eighth position. Ninth position is the likes of Ivan Vantagiato. Deviak takes 10th, and unfortunately Ben Snell with the reverse grid starts dead last in 11th position. So Ben Snell, 10 cars that he's got to try and overtake, including the one that he's currently competing for in this race. Well, obviously there is 4 currently that I think have the best chance between Snell, Vantagiato, Deviak and Oliva. But currently it was the previous race, it was between Deviak, Vantagiato and Snell. So let's see what can happen, as we do have the gantry formation lights ready to go. Drivers are looking very locked in. There we have Mr. Ben Snell all the way at the backside of the grid with his purple visor down. This man is locked in to try and pull in one last final win for this season.
Yep, indeed he is. It's going to be an interesting race. The formation lap, like you say, underway now, and Ben Snell by the rear of the grid. In fact, at the rear of the grid. And yeah, I tell you now, I fancy Dante Oliva to stay ahead of these 3 behind him. You know, I know he's got Ian Noxie there. That's just them changing, just slightly creeping ahead on that formation lap. So I've got a feeling Dante could stay ahead here. I think he's a very good defender in that BMW M4, and this is going to be crucial. I think we could be in for a new race winner in this second race.
I think you're right. I think there will be a new race winner. I was just watching that replay of Mitchell in that first race, and I think I'd be very surprised if Al-Qaeda doesn't jump into his DMs after seeing that, because yeah, I think he's got what it takes.
Yeah, the dive bomb of note there in the previous round. Let's hope. I mean, if he can stay up ahead in the start of this race, it doesn't mean he has to defend or try and attack on anybody. So let's see if Ben Mitchell has been following the other Ben of Ben Snell to try and get the best possible race launch. Like Peter said, Ben Snell, probably one of the best race launches here at BISC GT3, and he's done it season-wide so far, where he gets an absolutely amazing pull. Obviously, this time around, there's not going to be that, as he starts dead last. And so now it's going to be a recovery game for him. But as they come through the final couple of corners, well, actually, no, still quite a bit to go. 60% of the way through. They'll be coming around Lukey Heights now through the next couple of corners as they just come out of Siberia in turn number 6. But you can see the pace car quite far ahead. Ben Mitchell is closing the gap between this grid. He's compressing it quite a lot and hoping to make quite an impressive launch on the drivers around him. Andrew Cash, I think he's showing a little bit of fear alongside Ben Mitchell. He doesn't want to receive the love tap yet again. So let's hope there's no contact between the two as they head towards that start-finish line.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen here for the final time this season. They'll come down towards the end of their formation lap. But Peter, what a season it's been, hasn't it? It's been a great season to be a part of.
Yeah, it's been an awesome season. I've really enjoyed it. It's a great bunch of guys. I'm just keeping my eye on Andrew Cash, the Jamaican, because I know he really wants to win this feature. He said he'll celebrate by eating oxtail, and we're off, guys.
Oh, off already. Look at that, Ben Mitchell getting quite an aggressive pull, obviously, because they've caused quite a gap between themselves and the pace car, and so Ben Mitchell had quite a lot of space to play with in terms of launch, but it has not worked out in his favor. He did not get the launch he would have desired for, because look who's just on the backside. The oxtail wanting driver of Mr. Andrew Cash just on the backside. He's wanting that win so badly. Nick Green also is right on the backside for P number 3. There we have Luke Broadbent in the middle of that pack, and looks like Dante Oliva 3 positions up on launch. My goodness. And Dante Oliva up into the top 5. This is going to be great for his defense in this race, and a possible race win coming his way. Vantagiato has moved up 1. Ben Snell has moved up 3 positions as well. Scott Boerman down 6 positions already. Oliva up into 4th. He started in 4th in the sprint race. He's already up to 4th on lap number 1 in the feature. Broadbent goes out wide in his Merc GT3, and he's lost out to Boerman, Deviak, Avantagiato, and Noxie. Everybody moving up and changing positions, but Dante Oliva and Ben Snell both 4 and 5 positions up. Here comes Ben Snell already on the inside line. Oh, and there's contact. Ben Snell goes wide almost and actually pushes one of the other one of the other Mercs off of the track. I'm not too sure who that is. Just behind him, that looks to be Ian Noxie, who's also switched cars from the Ford Mustang. So everybody choosing the Merc here, but that was almost a chaotic start there for Ben Snell.
Yeah, crazy start already. And what did I say about you can't overtake? Dante Oliva's put that one to bed, hasn't he? He's made some absolutely belting moves already in the opening stage of this race. But just proving how difficult it is at the moment. Snell still down in 9th, ahead though of Noxie and Broadbent, as that is a little wide there for Angeli. And this is looking like Borman's going to have that run on the outside line now. And this is what I mean about you've got to have that overlap to get an overtake done, but there's contact between Angeli and Borman. Borman manages to hang on to that one, brilliantly done. That's given though that of Snell and potentially Noxie an extra position there, but Angeli at the moment just holding on in there over Snell now, although Snell looking up the inside line. We can't see him at the moment, but he's going to appear. Angeli has to go deep to allow Snell to get through, and that is a clinical in overtaking from Ben Snell, moving his way forward. And if you're Vantagiato now, you are on the back of Dante Oliva. Oliva needs them cars in between himself and his current championship rival.
He's looking strong, isn't he? He's looking aggressive and strong. But Ivan is still just behind him despite it all. So, yeah, this is looking really exciting. Really, really exciting. Everyone's looking a little bit more aggressive than the first race. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think the top 4 were all respectively 4 positions up. Between 4th and 8th position, 4th and 7th, sorry, have all got something that they want to fight for, and that's getting up back towards that podium spot. So you can see it from Oliva to Vantagiato to Deviak and all the way down to Ben Snell. All 4 of them are doing their absolute utmost to try and get up ahead and push up towards that top grid yet again. And you can see how much this is changing. Dante Oliva, I did see on the live timings tower, he did switch around a little bit there with Nick Green, but Nick Green fought back and managed to push him yet again out. And look in that backside mirror of the BMW. On the inside line comes the big Merc GT3 of Ivan Vantagiato, and he's actually got the inside line of Dante Oliva. Has he made the position stick with the play around of Nick Green? And loads and loads of action happening. Deviak pushes himself into that fight as well. My goodness, what on earth just went on there? Deviak and Vantagiato forced their way through. Nick Green is sideways. And oh my goodness, all 4 of them have pushed themselves up yet again. Ben Snell down to 11th position in that fight.
I tell you what a move from Vantagiato that was, because he got the overlap, he got the run alongside, and he then boxed Oliva into that of Nick Green, so he couldn't go anywhere to make the move. And the best bit about that was Devjack saw the opening and went, I'm going to try and get the both of you. Gets through. What happened between Vantagiato though and Green? That's going to be the biggest question here. Let's have a look. Vantagiato has a look at that inside line. A little late. Oh no, actually got a tap from the rear from that of Devjack in that put him into the back of Green, that sent Green spinning into the gravel trap. But Devjack there saw an opportunity and went, I'm not messing around here. I want to race win again. So let's try and get as far forward as we can. But these 4 are stuck to each other like glue at the moment. They've got to now catch onto the back of Andrew Cash and Ben Mitchell, who they're a couple of seconds behind so far. Devjack, fastest man on the circuit, not yet seen the 25s that we saw in race number 1, but already in this 35-minute feature race, it is chaos out there.
Yeah, that just looked like a racing incident to me. I think that Ivan kind of overslowed because he was being cautious, and then Devjack just gave him that little love tap, which was enough to cause the rest of the incidents. But what's happening, strangely enough, is the Jamaican Andrew Cash and Benji Mitchell have a little bit of breathing space because of all of this. So they'd be enjoying it. They're in clear air. They're trying to run away, and it's working for them at the moment. And I think Ivan's just gone wide. Was that Ivan?
Yeah, it looks like Vantagiato did go a little bit wide, and Deviak has been able to capitalize on that, moves up into 3rd position. You were saying the 2 up ahead have got some breathing room. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to go on for much longer. The drivers behind are all setting about 5/10 faster than Andrew Cash and Ben Mitchell. Here's the replay, though, of how the likes of Vantagiato lost out to Deviak. So coming through that corner, was there possibly a bit of a curb tap? You can see there's a bit of debris on the outside line. And oh, that was a bit of an odd one there from Vantagiato. Maybe a bit of a screen freeze as he just keeps the steering wheel straight, and off the track he goes. It gave a very easy position there for Deviak. He didn't have to fight that one on a track where fighting is quite difficult. He got quite an easy bump up onto the inside line. Ben Snell moves ahead of Dante Oliva as well through that next corner, and we'll see it how it happens as well. So Ben Snell very aggressive to get up toward that starting grid, as well as Deviak, and you can see just on the outside line of the likes of Oliva, then it converts into the inside line in the next corner, and he does indeed take that aggressive lunge, and it did work. No contact whatsoever. Great move up on the inside line there for Ben Snell, and now chasing onto the backside of Vantagiato and Deviak. The four-way fight continues yet again. Deviak leads that battle though between the four.
Four-way fight becomes a six-way fight because the leaders are right in front of Deviak as well. So this is going to be interesting. Nick Green is in for that mandatory pit stop that the drivers have to do, possibly repair a bit of damage that he suffered earlier on as well. So that four-way fight now becomes a six-way fight, and this could get interesting here right now. But so far, Vantagiato, you have to say, in this championship, he's got to finish ahead of Oliva. Peter was saying that it was tied on points going into this race now, so it's advantage to the Italian. And can he do well here on Australian soil? That's going to be the biggest question at the moment. He's on the back of Deviak, currently running in 4th place. We have seen Borman now, fastest lap of the race, and Deviak now takes that one. We are into the 25s. So at the moment, lap time's starting to come down, but you just feel that's going to be halted a little bit. Now they're on the back of Cash, although Deviak looking immediately up the inside of Cash. It's only a look for the time being. He knows he's got to be patient. Door opens, through goes Deviak. Great little move that. Cash just understeered a little bit wide there, and that's put Deviak through and Vantagiato. So at the moment, in fact, Snell, Cash is not fighting this one at all, is he? He's letting them go. He does not want to mess with the leaders and be involved in the drama there.
Well, it doesn't look like any oxtail tonight for Mr. Cash, but yeah, these guys are just keep swapping positions, don't they? Almost a keys in the bowl kind of scenario going on. But no, really exciting stuff. Really exciting. I can't help but think something else is going to happen though.
Yeah, something is probably going to happen. I mean, we do still have quite a lot of time to play with, and like Matthew mentioned, there is still that mandatory pit stop that all the drivers need to complete. Obviously Nick Green is already Nick Green's actually sitting dormant in the pit lane. I'm not too sure if he's going to come out again in this feature race, but all the other drivers will still have to serve that mandatory pit stop. And the question is when, because there's not too much of an undercut strategy that can be pulled here, just due to the fact that there isn't that many cars out on the grid. You can see Ian Noxie, our driver, who is always performing the undercuts, has decided to stay out usually at this 8-minute or 10-minute mark. He's already into the pit lane, but this time around he is remaining quite dormant out on track. But up towards that top fight, Ben Mitchell is now going to start to feel the freak from behind, because here comes the Vantage GT3 sniffing his way up, trying to find a way around the Huracan. There's contact as Ben Mitchell tries to hold on, and unfortunately Deviak takes that inside line. We'll try and get a replay there to see who is possibly at fault for that. It kind of looked like Mitchell turned in a bit, but obviously I don't know if Deviak had his nose completely in. We'll see in a moment's time, but it is now officially Deviak in P1. Vantagiato with Ben Snell putting a lot of pressure on him from behind. The two Mercs fighting for that final 2nd place, and Oliva down in 4th.
Yeah, I'd like to see a top-down image of this one. Let's see on board with Ben Mitchell at the moment, and he's gonna this on board. Sorry, Deviak now. Door just I'd say that's more. Yeah, door wasn't open, and he just kind of shoves the nose up the inside. A little impatient there from Stephen Deviak, just to try and get some clear air ahead of Ben Mitchell. Yeah, door wasn't really open there, Peter, and Deviak kind of just forces his way through.
Yeah, I think he probably could have bought his time a little bit better. It would be really disappointed to see him win this race and then cop a penalty for that, if that's the case. So yeah, we'll see. But Ben's now giving a fair bit of pressure to Ivan, and Dante seems he's still in it too. Like, this could be anyone's.
Definitely so, but this is the nice part of being up in the commentary box, is we don't have to worry about the penalties. That gets handled by the stewards, so we'll have to see what happens to the likes of Deviak, because I think all three of us can agree that was a bit of a inside no squeeze where there wasn't enough space. So we'll see if he does get administered a penalty on the final round before Christmas. That's not exactly the present you want. It's more like a box of coal, unfortunately, there. But he did pick that fight just slightly at the wrong time. Here we have Scott Berman on the backside of Andrew Cash, who was sitting second, but we did see him let most of the drivers pass. Ben Mitchell comes into the pit box. I'm not too sure if he's fixing damage or just coming in for his banditry, but Scott Berman does get ahead of Andrew Cash and loses yet another position. So maybe Oxtail another time. Maybe you can rain check it. I don't think it's going to come for him tonight. But here comes Ben Snitchell out the pit lane. He comes. So mandatory has indeed been served for the Huracan and out on track yet again. Unfortunately, not in a position he would have hoped for after being tugged off by the likes of Deviak. But that is unfortunately sometimes racing. But our main fight is going to remain in that top 4 because they have completely excluded themselves from the rest of the grid. Most of your times on the left-hand side are going to be well over a second within distance, but you can see from Deviak to Vantagiato to Snell to Oliva, all within a good second of each other. So this is going to be it now. Who is going to be able to take that first position? Obviously, in the beginning, we thought Oliva would be able to defend against the back boys, but unfortunately, he remains dormant at the backside of this top 4.
Hey, I think Oliva just fell foul of Nick Green being in the way, to be fair. I think Vantagiato absolutely capitalised on Nick Green just holding Oliva off, and as Oliva was trying to find a way through as Ian Knox is into the pit, as Oliva was trying to find a way past Nick Green, Vantagiato capitalised on an opening and boxed Oliva in. But now we're at that interesting stage of this race, aren't we, right? So Oliva didn't have the pace of the front 3 in that first race. He's now got to find the pace. He's got to stick to the back of these 3. You've got the guy who won the race and has won this championship, Ben Snell, quickest driver this season, it has to be said, in 3rd place. This is now Oliva's opportunity to, if Snell has a look, maybe try and follow him through, because if an opening comes, you've got to capitalise for that 2nd place in this championship. And Snell's not going to want to sit in 3rd. He's going to want to take the final race win of the season, but it's not going to be easy. And you can just see how close the top 4 are. They've cleared Borman now, so that's about 3 seconds back to Oliva from Borman. So these top 4 now, this is where the fight's going to be, and it could all come down to the pit stops. It could come down to the overcut, the undercut, and depending if you get your pit stop bang on. We saw last time out that there was a few lengthy pit stops from drivers who was in the midst of a fight. Drivers of these 4 have got to make sure their pit stops are absolutely spot on, ready to go.
I'm actually surprised none of them have opted to pit early. If I was Dante, I would have pitted last lap. I can see that these guys ahead are going to start battling. I think now is the time for Dante to jump in those pits, let them battle, I should say, and hopefully get in clear air. That's the other factor, is if you pit now, you may not be in clear air, and we've seen that time and time again too. So yeah, this is close, very close.
And sorry, Tristan, if you don't mind, that's the biggest thing, Peter, right? Is if Oliva pits now, if he doesn't come out in clear air, this track's so hard to overtake on, that's going to cost him more time than not. So it may be a case of follow the guys in, maybe try that overcut.
Yeah.
Definitely so. As you're talking about paddling, unfortunately the paddling happens in the big open waters on the right side of the track, but this is battling that we see up in front. Like you mentioned, Oliva, like you mentioned with Oliva, I think it would be a good time for him to get a prime pit stop in, because the top 3, I'm going to put a prediction in here, and I'm not trying to throw in a commentator's curse, but I think something might happen between the top 3 here. If we see a bit too much pushing, I can see it's getting quite heated between Vantagiato and Ben Snell. So if one does decide, let's pop on the aggression cap and force our way into a corner, we might unfortunately see a bit of a change up here, but let's hope not. Let's hope we start some clean racing. You can see the slipstream here from Vantagiato as he slowly starts to pull up behind Deviak, and the fighting is ever so close between the top 4.
For folks watching, Tristan doesn't make many predictions. Every time I've asked him for a prediction when I've worked with him before, he doesn't like to give a prediction. So that is a first that I have heard with Tristan. I've worked with him a lot recently, so take that one. He's predicting that the top 3 could be a bit of chaos. Let's see what happens in this race. And if you don't believe the commentator's curse that Tristan just says, trust me now, it is a real thing. Everybody I've had in the commentary box that's made a prediction, it's gone terribly, terribly wrong. It is a real thing, the commentator's curse. Look, I think this is great from Snell, right, at the moment. I agree with what you're saying. The top 3 could be involved in any dramas. I think Snell is just maybe one step ahead of the 2 guys in front of him. He's not going to try anything here. right? He'll want to win this final race of the season. He'll want to take another race win and, you know, just make his championship points even bigger. But Snell is such an intelligent driver that I think he's going to just sort of sit behind the front two. And he's just going to wait. He's not going to force anything. The forcing is going to be from Vantigiato. Although he doesn't need to because he's ahead of Oliva. This is the start of the race though. No, sorry, this is Oliva on the lunge then, coming down up the inside. Look at that, 2 for 1 nearly into the back of green at the start of this race. And he managed to make it stick on one of the Ferraris. I think it was Angeli. He got past there, so that's how he started to work his way up the field. But look at the front 4, nose to tail, literally, as we go along. And the bonus for Oliva here, Peter, is he's not falling behind. So that race 1 pace that he just dropped off the back of the front 3, he's sticking with them now.
Yeah, he's definitely sticking with them. And I think your prediction's going to be more correct than mine, because my prediction was Devjak for pole, and I made that prediction after he completed his final qualifying lap. So I think you've got more chance of being correct than me, but this is anyone's. This could be anyone's. If I'm going to put money on it, I'm going to go with Ivan. I think he would want it really, really badly.
Well, I mean, what we saw from... Yeah, go for it, Matt.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, I agree. You know, I can't remember seeing Ivan here sort of, you know, be at the front too much this season in terms of having the chance of a race win, should I say. He's obviously been running that bridesmaid's position quite a lot this season. I think you're right. I think you're going to get into that final couple of stages of this race. He's going to want to take the race win, although maybe a door opening for Snell there.
Yeah, he wants to be bride tonight.
Yeah, definitely. But what I was saying is from last week, what we saw from Devjak was a completely different machine from what we saw in previous rounds. And as you can see, he's already gapped over a second now. And here it comes, bumper to bumper. Oh, there's a nice gearbox in the back of that Merc GT. I love seeing the big, nice purple at the bottom side. As Ben
really went ass to mouth there.
Yeah, and that's a true centipede formation, like we like to call it, right up into the backside of that yellow Merc, and wanting to form an even bigger. That's a V16 if they connect to each other. So watch out. That could be quite a powerful machine if a bind does happen. But with all the fighting from behind, Devjak over 9/10 away now. And like I was mentioning in the previous round, he was able to pull away quite strongly, Matthew. And I mean, if he can do that here tonight, we could be seeing a Peter prediction of a top row spot there for Steven Devjak.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be tough if Snell gets past, but you're just seeing Vantigiato now come under pressure from Snell. Bowman at the moment, he's got clear air, but he's just not able to capitalise by gaining on the back here. I'm still keeping an eye on Oliva. I still think your prediction could come true here. I think Oliva is sitting in the pound seat at the moment. But the more that Snell puts Vantigiato under pressure, the more that Devjak is going to look at trying to just, you know, pull away and extend that gap. It's already nearly at a second now. This is Ian Noxie and Ben Mitchell down in 9th and 10th after their pit stops, coming through the opening couple of corners of this lap. And at the moment, Ben Mitchell is the one in front. He had the earlier pit stop.
Yeah, and I just noticed he had a Noxie on his rear end. I don't know if you've ever seen Noxie stream, but he actually vapes on every single straight while he's racing. Which I find amazing. Clearly a man who's very, very good with his hands and his mouth. But yeah, looks this is shaping up to be a great race. I'm looking forward to pit stops, guys.
It was a rather suspicious statement, but we'll keep it in a racing context there for Ian Noxie. He's just releasing a couple of fumes on the straight, making sure he's keeping the pressure nice and low. But for the time being, that three-way fight, second, third, and fourth, they are practically one within each other. There should be a chain interlinking between them, because the three of them fighting now, Noxie has pulled quite a nice lead. You can see it there. Not Noxie, sorry, the likes of Devjak has pulled quite a nice lead, but here is Noxie, and he is really trying to get around the likes of Ben Mitchell. I believe Noxie might have a little bit more speed under the belt. He's got a little bit more experience around the track. Oh, it switched up. Devjak has dropped down massively. What on earth has happened to Steven Devjak? And possibly an error into that corner. And here comes prime time for the likes of Oliva, because things have switched up. Unfortunately, Peter, there goes your prediction, because Devjak has made a bit of a mistake. What on earth did the Australian driver do? Into the left-hand corner, possible braking error, just loses it, manages to catch it though, but the grass and the sand wanted a little bit of a conversation with the under tray of the car. They got their beef done and dusted, and he's back out onto the track. Into the pit lane he goes though. What an unfortunate bounce off there for Deviak.
Yeah, the Australian driver there looked a bit like the English batsman in the Ashes, just kind of bottled it a little bit as he come through that corner. He just had it in his grasp to control this race. Here's Noxie, though, having a look on the back of Ben Mitchell, looking to that inside line. The outside line, sorry, it was it is the inside line. It was the outside for that little curve. You can tell I've not done Phillip Island before, but lovely little move there. And this is what I said in that first race, in the build-up to this race. You've got to have that momentum. You've got to be alongside to get that move completed here. And Snell now attacking the back of Oliva attacking the back of Snell here, and really getting a bump draft coming in towards the couple of final corners at this circuit. Snell now just starting to feel the pressure. I thought he was going to be the one to be the aggressor now that Deviak has made his mistake, but he's not. Deviak's obviously made his pit stop. He's came out 4 seconds behind Angeli, who is yet to pit. The only thing that Deviak needs here is Angeli, Broadbent, Cash to all pit before he catches up to them. As Vantagiato now into the pit lane, so we'll see how much that undercutters work. I like this from Snell and Oliva. I like the fact they've stayed out. If they have seen that Deviak has come out in traffic, then this could be the chance for them to capitalise.
Yeah, this is where it all plays out now. This is... We'll find out over the next couple of laps exactly who our race leader is. But yeah, these guys battling at the front, they're not just sim racers. Ivan has won RX8. He's raced hyper race cars locally here. Andrew Cash is a dirt kart champion. We've got Ben Snell, who does drifting locally. And Devjak, I mean, his resume is just absolutely huge in real-world motorsport. So these guys are all very experienced in real life. I don't think they're going to be feeling much pressure.
Yeah, let's hope not, because there's still quite a lot of time on the board here. And like we were speaking about, there is quite a bit of a split here in terms of decisions that have been made. Obviously, Snell and Oliva have decided to go for the overcut, and the likes of Deviak as well as Vantagiato going for that undercut. And as you can see, Deviak is unfortunately behind after his spin and pit stop, just behind Vantagiato, and he's actually quite a distance behind, 30 seconds that he's going to have to catch in the next couple of laps. And like Matthew mentioned, they need Broadbent and Cash to pit or get out of the way when they come around in order to try and keep that undercut going strong. Otherwise, Ben Snell, who comes into the pit lane, not too much of an overcut there, as I believe Oliva stays out this time around. So Oliva going for the ultimate overcut, and Snell comes in for a slightly later pit stop. He will be on, obviously there is no fresher tires here. I think everybody is going to opt for staying on the same set. We'll see it now with Ben Snell. I think it's quite a quick pit stop. I think it's just a quick fuel up, and off they will go, unless the track has been demanding on tires. I'm not 100% sure. Definitely not. Quick stop for him. He comes out of the pit lane, and that will be the same set of tires. So we'll have to see who comes out. Ben Snell comes out. Cash also comes into the pit lane, as well as Broadbent. It's worked out for them. Here comes Vantagiato. He is quite a distance down the road from Ben Snell, so the overcut has definitely worked for them.
We've seen 2 overcuts now, right? Vantagiato went a lot longer than Deviak. He's pulled even bigger of a gap. We've seen Snell now overcut Vantagiato by a couple of seconds as well. Tyres, I don't think, are going to be necessary in a 35-minute feature. I think you're just going to cost yourself that pit stop time and track position ultimately. I like this from Oliva. I think this is a cracking move from Oliva. The bonus for Vantagiato and for Oliva and for Deviak is that Broadbent and Cash both pitted during that same lap as Snell. So Oliva at the moment, can he get one more out of it? No, he's going to come into the pit lane now. This is his opportunity. Look at how tight that pit entry is here at Phillip Island. You do not want to get that wrong. You could be on the grass, and that we know how difficult it is on the grass to keep the car under a little bit of control. But if the overcut has worked for Vantagiato to open a gap up over Deviak, if it's worked for Snell over Vantagiato, you see the pit stop times there. Look, Snell was 2 seconds quicker in the pits. Now, depending on Oliva, who's going to need a lap less fuel than what Snell put in the car, this could be advantage Oliva. But let's wait and see on that pit stop time. 9.2 seconds. Gains a second and a half over Snell. How was his in lap? How was Snell's out lap? Off the limiter he comes now. Ben Snell, where is he in the background? There he is. But crucially, for second place in that championship. Vantagiato, he does get alongside and he gets ahead of Snell. Of Oliva, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that was...
Wow, that was close. That was very close.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very close between the top three. And I really thought with that shorter pit stop time for Oliva that he was ahead there. I mean, he pulled quite the distance from Ben Snell and unfortunately just didn't work out. I do remember he was behind Ben Snell before the pit stop. So maybe a slightly slower pit entry. Maybe Ben Snell was way more aggressive on the dive in and has fortunately worked out in his favor. But it is a close battle. The Oliva is 4 tenths behind the likes of Vantagiato. Deviak is also slightly just a bit further behind. So here we're going to have a look at Ben Snell's pit entry. I think we just missed the entry. Here we'll try it again as he comes through the pit lane. Was it a possible Foster jump in through the pit lane later on the brakes? This is the previous lap or the next lap. We'll find it eventually for you. Don't worry just yet, but eventually we will get it. Here it possibly is. No, we're back onto the live, and as we can see, Vantagiato still ahead of Oliva.
Yeah, indeed he is, and Oliva now has got to pull out all the stops to get this one done if he wants that second place in this championship. We're into the final 9 minutes of racing, and as Tristan said earlier, hopefully we don't get it cut short tonight. So this was Ben Snell coming into the pit lane. Let's just see the difference. If we can grab an onboard as well, that'd be even better, I think, to just see if we can get a better perception of what happened. Sorry, the difference between Snell and Oliva's pit entry. I think it's a combination of a slow pit entry for Oliva and a great outlap from Ben Snell from the pit lane. So he comes through towards the final corner, tucks it in, and just holds it a little more tight. That already looks a little quicker through that little left-hand kink and slowed down at the end. So Ben Snell's got the job done. Even though we lost, it was a second and a half difference in the pit stop times, Snell had a much faster pit in.
Yeah, he really did. I don't think that was Ben's first time in a tight entry because he did very well there.
And
yeah, very much.
This pit lane, sorry Tristan, this pit lane is so tight. If you put one wheel on the grass, that could spell disaster.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, imagine trying to come in, and especially what Ben Snell did. You saw that he maintained his track speed all the way up until the braking was necessary. And like you mentioned, if you slam on the brakes and that foot and that tire is ever so slightly on the grass, unfortunately, you might even go sideways into the pit lane. And as you can see how narrow it is, it only accommodates for one vertically going car, not horizontally. So that could have even been a pit lane blockage if something like that would have happened. But for the time being, the chase is on for Vantagiato. Chasing onto the backside of Ben Snell. Oliva has unfortunately dropped back over 7 tenths, over 1.4 seconds away now, and this might be a potential for Steven Deviak to overtake him, get into third. But for the time being, Vantagiato looking very good for him to take that second position in the championship standings. Ben Snell, like we mentioned, I think he's already confirmed for first, but he's here to make double sure that he's going to get that win already up into first place yet again. He took it in the sprint. Can he take it in the feature? With about 7 or so minutes left of racing, and the top 4 have unfortunately differentiated themselves with that initial spin around from the likes of Deviak. And obviously all the pit changes like we saw in the top 4, it has really changed the dynamic of this top 4 fight. And Snell looking very good, 1 second ahead of Vantagiato, but that can change within any form of mistake that we might see in the next 7 minutes. So keep your eyes peeled on that top 4. Unfortunately, the fights around the rest of the track are quite separated. As you can see, over 30 seconds of a difference between our leaders and the other drivers. And so most have separated themselves within a good 2 to 4 seconds of a gap. And so all the main fighting is going to come from your top drivers.
Vantagiato was just under a tenth quicker than Snell on the last lap. So Vantagiato, we know he's got the pace. He had the pace in race 1 over Snell. But again, I think this is more Snell managing the race, managing his gap, managing what he has to do. We saw that Deviak's made a mistake. Snell is not going to want to make a similar mistake to what Deviak did earlier on, and he's a very capable driver of bringing this one home to the end. Vantagiato ahead of Oliva, and in a way these are race drivers. Look, they're all going to go for the race when I understand that, but Vantagiato will know he's ahead of Oliva and knows he just has to stay ahead of Oliva to get that second place in the championship.
Yeah, exactly. That will start to become a factor now, I think. I'm actually a little bit surprised at how much Oliva is dropping off Vantagiato, just because I thought initially, okay, he came out, his tyres were that little bit cooler, but he seems to be continuing to drop off him. So let's see. I mean, I hope Ivan catches him. I want to see a battle, right to the end.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that would be the best thing in terms of entertainment, is for all four of them to pull back within each other. But for the time being, I don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, anything can happen, but I think all three of our predictions were roughly wrong. I know Peter was betting on a lever. I was betting on a massive accident and something else happening, but I said it indirectly before, but unfortunately the direct thing was an accident happening. And then Matthew, I think I forgot what you predicted, but I think all three of us are in fact wrong, and Snell might be in quite a good position here to take a second win here in tonight's racing.
Do we get to count? Did we get to count that yeah, I said we'd have a new winner. That's right. Did we get to count that you said that could be chaos between the top three? Does that count for you putting Devyak off?
I'm not actually entirely sure.
We'll say that you put the curse on. We'll say that you put the curse on Devyak, and that's why he made the mistake. Devyak, if you do watch it back, Tristan did it. Sorry. Snell currently leads by that second from a lever, and Snell and Vantagiato pulled away from a lever. So this one looks pretty done for first and for third and fourth, doesn't it? Looks like the positions are going to stay as they are, but can Vantagiato in this last 4 minutes get onto the back of Ben Snell? Passing's one thing, overtaking's another, as the late great Murray Walker once said. But you can see the positions gained and lost there. Snell up 10 places. Nick Green, the only retirement from the race due to that incident he was involved in earlier on with the leaders as they was trying to overtake. But yeah, at the moment, you have to say Vantagiato, he's been one of the quickest guys out there tonight. Couldn't manage to put it on pole position, but the race pace he has provided us with has been absolutely electric. And you just see there, look, getting that gap to come down under the second. The problem is he needs more than a couple of attempts a lap to get onto the back of Ben Snell.
Yeah, and Ben Snell's just so composed, isn't he? He just doesn't make errors. He's just as calm as they come. But Ivan would be pushing. He would be sweating in that seat and pushing and giving it everything. I'm just trying to see. There's not many other battles really going on track at the moment. It kind of everyone's found their place and just kind of bringing it home now, I guess.
Indeed so, and that I think that is all that the top four are trying to do now, is bringing it home. And I can see Vantagiato does keep on bringing that gap slightly down, but then there's a certain part of the track where Ben Snell is just finding that time and pulling it over a second yet again. So you can see he's slowly starting to bring it down. It's now down to 9.3 tenths, and now even down to 8, as you can see on the left-hand side. But then it does change up later on. It's actually almost down to 7 tenths now, so I think a little bit of a turn-in mistake there from Ben Snell, but it might change up in the next coming laps. But this is the closest that Vantagiato has been in the past 2 laps. He's down to 5 tenths of a distance between himself and Ben Snell and Vantagiato. Could there be a possible mistake that has been made previously by Ben Snell? Vantagiato now down to 4 tenths of a distance between himself and Ben Snell, and he's right on the backside of that car, down to 3 tenths now into that next corner. He is starting to get very aggressive on the backside, hoping to maybe take a win. But like Matthew said, staying behind and getting up close to the driver is one thing, but actually trying to get ahead of him is going to be the next story. Ben Snell is going to turn on full Alonso mode in this final couple of minutes, trying to keep the other Mercedes at bay. And let's hope we don't have a 2016 Formula Mercedes replica. Last lap, I believe, though, as we are looking at about 1 minute and 25 lap time distance, and we're about to break the 1 minute left. So let's see, can Vantagiato take him in this final lap?
He's got 1 lap to do it, hasn't he? Possibly, if they creep in for one more, that could be the interesting part of this, because I think that it's just going to be too hard for Vantagiato on this lap without Snell making a mistake. He's got to have a look for a lunge, and he has a look there, breaks a little later, gets closer to the back of Snell, really gets close mid-corner. Snell gets the better exit, but Vantagiato now just trying the tricks of the trade, if you will, just to try and distract Snell. But Snell is a calm, cool character who has been composed all season, and he'll know what he's got to do in this race, and that is just not make a mistake, not leave the door open for Vantagiato to come past. And you can see there the different lines that Vantagiato is taking. He's just trying to distract Snell in any way he possibly can. As they come downhill in towards the right hander, Vantagiato looking for the up and under, maybe can't get it done there. Noxie's got past Broadbent lower down the order, and as we come in towards the final couple of corners, is there going to be time for maybe just that last lap? There's 7 seconds left. I don't think we're going to get that one, though. And this is going to be it. Ben Snell is going to win the final race of the season from Ivan Vantagiato. needed that extra lap, didn't get the extra lap, and Snell wins once again.
Can't lie, I kind of wanted to see Ivan just absolutely send it, but Ben Snell deserved the win. He's raced incredibly all year, and it looks like Ivan's secured the silverware for the championship with that result. So look, it was a great race. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for letting me be part of it, guys. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun.
Absolutely so, and it's a bit of a pity that Deviak didn't have the most impressive results from his previous rounds. I think he was also busy in a couple of the races and he wasn't able to attend because obviously he was down in 7th in that championship standings, and in the past 2 races he's done incredibly well in that top 3. So very unfortunate. He's not going to get the championship finish that he would have hoped for. He has the overtake on Noxie. Huge break there for Broadbent. I think that was quite an early break if you have to ask me, and so quite an easy move up onto the inside line there for Ian Noxie, and that's one more position to gain. Into 7th he will go, and a couple more points. But that is unfortunately it for tonight's racing. We'll go through the results in terms of what we just saw. Ben Snell does indeed take the win. Vantagiato takes 2nd. Dante Oliva will take 3rd, and I believe both of them have secured 2nd and 3rd in the championship. Stephen Deviak will take 4th, with Scott Berman down in 5th. Andrew Cash takes 6th, with Ian Noxie down in 7th. Luke Broadbent in 8th, with Ben Mitchell 9th. Michael Angeli will take 10th, and the final driver on the grid, Nick Green, in 11th, the only DNF of tonight's racing. Very unfortunate, but at least it was only one driver. We unfortunately do not have any times for interviews here on the final round at BISC GT3 Championship, but that officially rounds up season number 2. It's been an absolutely phenomenal ride here at Phillip Island Park. Peter, how was the racing yet tonight for you in the commentary box?
No, I really enjoyed it, guys. I thought it was a lot of fun chatting with you guys while watching it all. It was great racing. I would have liked to have seen a couple more little tougher battles, but it was really, really good. Great ending to the season.
Absolutely so. And any final thoughts from your side, Matthew?
No, just echoing what Peter said, really. It's been a fantastic end to the season. It's been a great championship to be a part of throughout this entire season. Well done to the drivers out there. You know, Vantagiato did what he needed to do at the end of the day. And, yeah, great season, great championship, and what a way to end it.
Absolutely so. But that is officially it for tonight's racing. Once again, a massive thank you to the 2 title sponsors of Bowden Zone, as well as Benji's YouTube channel, where you've caught all of this live, done by Apex Racing TV. We'll potentially see you next year for a couple of events from the BISC GT3 endurance stuff. But that is officially it for season number 2 of the BISC GT3 Championship. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys another time. Enjoy your Christmas season and have a festive season all around. Have a good New Year's as well, and we'll check you around in the new year. Have a great one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.